welcome. So when was the last time that you picked up a book and you couldn't put it down, where you actually had to reschedule things in your day because you wanted to find out what was happening? Well, hopefully you know this name already. He is Matt Macchlery, and he joins us here on the radio station. Our newest presenter, actually. Matt, morning to you.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm very well. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, I guess the first question is, why books? Why is your passion for books? What kicked it all off?
Just wanting to know more, really. I mean, personally, my favourite genre is non-fiction. So I just love learning and growing. I'm a church leader as well. So when you're preaching and you're trying to, you need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you got to do your research, and you've got to find out stuff that you didn't know before. And especially when it's about other cultures and other times in history and things, you got to read. You got to find it out. And then you know what you're talking about, and you can actually talk with a bit of, conviction and authority, because you know what you're talking about. You've done your research. So that's my more favourite kind of book. And also, as I was growing as a Christian, books just really they just ignited a fire in me. You're reading stuff, you're like, wow, I never knew that. Wow, this is amazing. Oh, isn't God good? Because you're learning and you're growing. And yeah, so books, they're great.
And what I've always wondered, because nowadays it's so easy to be self-published. And there's a lot of, I'll use this phrase, rubbish knocking around, because if you've got no quality control, then anybody can write a book. How do you personally, what do you look for to make sure that the book is actually something that is worth reading and something that is true?
So you're right. Anyone can publish a book, but self-publishing isn't bad, because, I'm an author myself. And I've done both. I've self-published a few, and I've also been published by publishers. And there are pros and cons to both. Let's face it, the actual Christian publishing world has been squeezed quite a lot recently. And there are still some routes to market, but there's not that many at all. And if you're not a preacher in a mega church, half of them won't even pick up the phone because they don't think you're going to sell enough. It all becomes very money oriented, and are we going to make huge profits on this or not? You've got smaller ones who take risks and other things as well, but there's not that many of them, and they have limited resources, and they're just a small outfit, so they can only publish 10, 20 books a year if you're lucky. So you might have something really valuable to say. You might be an amazing writer, but there just isn't that opportunity. So actually, self-publishing becomes a possible route. But as you say, how do you filter out? Well, when people ask me about writing and self-publishing and all that kind of thing, you got to do it right. This is the thing. You can soon pick up books that you can pick them out. Ones that they just look cheesy. They look, someone's just gone on clip art and cobbled together a cover, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is awful. Or you just read the blurb, for example. There's one that I read the back of. I was considering it. I read the back of it, but they'd repeated the same word 3 times on the back, and I was like, oh, okay, this hasn't been edited. I know this just by reading a paragraph.
If that's the back, which is meant to showcase the book, what will the book be like?
Exactly. So if there are any writers listening and they're considering self-publishing, yes, it's a viable route, but do it properly. People say, oh, well, I can just edit my own stuff. As an author, let me tell you, get someone else to edit it. There's so many things that you think, oh, yeah, that's okay. But actually, an editor will pick it out and make you think about it and make you actually write something much better than what you could have just, done on your own. The first draft is never the final draft. There are many, many revisions to go to actually write something of quality. And you want to write something that's, that's decent.
Yeah.
Well, I'd hope that anyway.
Yeah.
And, put your best foot forward and all that kind of thing.
A lot is in the title, Matt, isn't it, on a book, do you think?
So important. Titles are so important. And also covers. I know there's that saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
But you should.
But everybody does. So, yeah, but titles, definitely.
And a message in from Carrie, and she said that, good morning to you both. I'm currently reading How to Talk About Jesus Without Looking Like an Idiot.
That's a brilliant book.
By Dr. Andy Bannister.
So
You've read
good.
it?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Andy Bannister, friend of the radio station, and she says it's a great, great book. So I guess that is what we're trying to do here as a radio station, which is to not be those weird Christians.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
It is. He gives some lovely practical advice in that book. It's really great. And if what's the name of the person?
She's called Carrie.
Carrie. So Carrie, if you're listening, I would recommend as a follow-on to that, reading Story Bearer by Phil Knox. Because that, again, is about how to share our faith, but it's also through telling stories just in everyday relationship and sort of bringing Jesus in, which kind of Andy touches on in his book, but they're approached from two slightly different angles. But yeah, great book, great choice.
I sometimes find, so you say don't judge it by its cover. I sometimes judge a book by the thickness of it. And I get overwhelmed if I see a really thick book. I probably wouldn't even give it a chance because of my own personal fear of this will take a lot of dedication in my life. I prefer things that are a little bit smaller and shorter.
Yeah, there is something to that, and reading is becoming less of a thing in today's culture,
Which is sad.
But authors are responding to that. So even if the book is fairly thick, I would encourage you to still flick through it a bit, have a look inside just to see, because quite a lot of authors are now, rather than doing huge big mega chapters, they're splitting things up into much smaller sized chunks so that you can just spend 10-15 minutes picking up your book rather than, okay, I've got to sit down for an hour and a half to get through to the next bit. And it also depends on the writing style. Some people write in such a quick flowing way that, you've read 200 pages and you don't know where the time's gone and it's just happened so quickly. Whereas, some of them you're only on page 5 and you're thinking, oh my goodness, how much longer to go with this one?
She went on as well, Carrie, to say that I also read non-Christian books. I love a good thriller, or I like this, hyphenated, a clean romantic book.
Oh,
a clean romantic book. I've always got a few books on the go. Now, that's quite interesting for me because I would never have several books on the go. I feel like I've only got enough concentration to do one at a time.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that, Carrie.
I have to. With the show, I've got to get through loads of books really quickly. So I guess this is where my English literature degree has helped. I can read fairly quickly. But yes, so I can have 2 or 3 on the go at a time. The challenge is to try and get to the end of some of them. But yeah, so yeah, no, I'm with you.
So actually, if you've got several on the go at once, do you find that naturally one of them will take priority because it's better? And it's almost like you would think, well, I've got half an hour free here. I prefer reading this one, so I'll invest it in that book.
Yeah, probably. Maybe subconsciously. Yeah, probably so, yeah.
Actually, I forgot all about this, and I was just searching it. So if you ever see me on a video and it looks like I'm on my phone, I promise you I'm not playing Angry Birds. I'm actually researching something to talk about next. And when I was at New Wine this year, it was in the bargain bin, this. And I'm a big fan of the late, great Billy Graham. And there's just something about his voice, as a broadcaster myself and a communicator, there's something about his voice that just drags you in immediately. So when I saw this, Saturdays with Billy, I thought, I'm going to get this. It was only £1.50, and even me, being the cheap northerner I am, I didn't haggle at the till. I actually paid the £1.50 for it. But it's really interesting because it is a pastor called Don Wilton, and he, for 25 years, would meet with Billy Graham every Saturday morning. And this is almost his memoirs. He says in the book, he says that everything I'm about to tell you, I've passed it through his family first to make sure that I'm not sharing anything that they don't want me to. And he talks all about what Billy Graham was like as a person. Wow. Not the pastor Billy Graham, but the actual human being, Billy Graham. And he shares things like they would go and take his dog for a walk on Billy Graham's ranch. And then they'd come home, and he just talks about the sort of food that they would have and stuff. And then the conversations where Billy Graham would say, I was talking the other day to this president. I was talking to that president. I was talking to Margaret Thatcher.
Just so
and things like that. Yeah. To him, it was just like a day's work. And Don says in this book, he says that the great thing was that Billy Graham, he was such a nice man that he would just assume that most people, if he called them by their first name, like Margaret, they would know that he was talking about Margaret Thatcher. He was talking about the president by the first name. So if you manage to get your hands on that, and it's not too thick either, it's called Saturdays with Billy, My Friendship with Billy Graham. It's a great, great book to read.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about some that you're stuck into at the moment, those books that you're reading, and the memorable ones that you can say, actually, I would read that, your books of the year. We're with Matt at the moment, and Matt does with us a Tuesday evening show. So if you like this conversation, then there's lots more of it on a Tuesday evening. So we are talking books here, and we're talking literature. So Matt, tell us at the moment, which are the books that you're getting stuck into? Which are the ones that you can't put down?
Oh my goodness. There are. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I get sent loads of books to read for the show. And then there's other books that I'm like, I discover some as I read them for the show, which is great. But there's others which I really want to read just for me, and not for the show. And I've got to kind of position it sort of summer holidays type thing, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Read it sort of in my leisure time, as it were. I've been loving the books by John Mark Comer at the moment. John Mark Comer.
Okay.
Ruthless Elimination of Hurry is one of his.
Okay.
Practicing the Way is an excellent book. That's impacted my life a lot.
What's it about that?
It's
roughly.
It's about spiritual formation.
Okay.
It's about how we can take an active role in growing as disciples through little practical things. So that's been great. Another non-fiction book that I've really enjoyed and is really good is called Valuable by Liz Carter. And that is all about how God places value and worth on us just because we are his, rather than basing it on what we do. Because so often, and I'm guilty of it, how often do we place value on who we are by what we do? Hi, I'm Matt. I do such and such. Or I'm and then we talk about our job. Where actually, you know, God doesn't say, oh, look, there's Matt. He's a such and such, and he's done all this, blah, 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 blah. He's just, my child, someone who I've made, someone who is getting to know me, someone who's growing. So that was a really impactful book for me as well. And there's some great non-fiction ones too. Amanda Bedra has written a great Christian fiction, sort of historical fiction, based on David and Bathsheba. It's called Becoming Queen Bathsheba, and it's all about what went on with David and Bathsheba from Bathsheba's perspective. and it was very interesting, very well researched as well, sort of around the culture and the traditions and things of the day. That was quite a good read, one I didn't want to put down. And then another one, quite different to that, but still non-fiction. I'm Philip Bray. I'm In Search of the Healing Cloth. It's the start of a series, and that one was about sort of a quest to find some mythological kind of healing cloth thing. But the way I liked it, because I like Indiana Jones. And I like sort of Da Vinci Code, and it's kind of like a mix between Indiana Jones and Da Vinci Code, and it's kind of like you think, oh, this would make a great film, and it's like, yeah, this is a rip-roaring adventure type.
I wonder if you get authors who purposely write books wanting it to become a film.
I think you can do, yes.
There must be people who have now taken the template of these. Lord of the Rings, for example, that was not written to become a film, but it did. I bet if you look at that and you can take some characteristics from it and then think, well, I bet if you're a film producer, if you're a writer of films, that would be the one that you go for.
Yeah, and one of the writing groups, I think, I'm a member of ACW, the Association of Christian Writers. I mean, if there are any writers out there, I would seriously look into joining that group. That you just get so much value from it, and you get connected with super important people in the Christian writing world. It's really worthwhile, and it really costs less than a meal out these days. Yeah. So it's really good. But basically, one of their workshops they did recently was how to transform your book into a screenplay.
Wow.
And how to try and, start using stories you've written to sort of go into sort of film and TV, and how to do that, and how to pitch that, and how to structure that. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Love it. We've had people getting in touch to say, well, actually, I need to say that I can't believe that so many people now are getting in touch to say, I never knew that Matt even did a show on the radio station.
Now
this is right up my street, and I'll be listening.
Tuesdays and Saturdays.
We've promoted this so much. How can you not know? But yes, Matt does a show, and it's all on our new website. You'll be able to see and listen back to previous episodes as well. Where you stand on audiobooks, Matt?
Audiobooks? Yes. They're good.
Do you get the same? Because they always say about radio, theatre of the mind. And in a way, one of the beauties of reading is that you can you've got time to digest it. You've got time to assume what you think the character would look like.
Yeah.
You may not have time with that with an audiobook.
I think you can still get that. The thing about audio for me, and because being involved with music and stuff as well, you have an added element. The audio element is a powerful thing, as you know, from radio. My wife in particular loves audiobooks. She loves audiobooks, and she was, Richard Osman's series, the one with all the old people murder club or whatever it's called. She'd been listening to loads of those, and she looked at me with a shocked expression a few months ago, and she said, "Oh, they've changed the narrator." So there you go. If you're listening to those, the narrator changes in like book 3 or something. And that really threw her, because the way that certain names were pronounced, or sort of the kind of voices that the narrator tried to put on to portray the different characters, was different, and that can throw you, because you've got used to hearing a certain sound or something said in a certain way, and now it's all changed. So, but no, I think it's great, and I've got a memoir that I've written myself called "Standing in the Storm," and I'm just about to go and record an audiobook version of that. So I think memoirs can be really powerful. That kind of genre where you're hearing the story told, because the story's being told by the person, but then you actually hear the person telling you their story verbally.
I always imagine, and I want you to come back on and to tell us how the recording went. I always imagine, even as a broadcaster, it will take ages, because you need to get every single word correct. You need to do, so for me, when I do the show, I tend to do everything in note form. I'll have bullet points. When you're reading a book, you can't really do that. It has to be word for word. Presumably, it does.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting experience. It's going to be the first audiobook I've read for. And yeah, it'll be an interesting experience. They've set aside 2 days for the length of this book.
Wow.
But they are serious audiobook producers. That's pretty much what they do. It's their bread and butter. And they record audiobooks with all the big names from Penguin and HarperCollins and all these, big publishing houses, as well as smaller people like me. So they know what they're doing. So they've said, yeah, it'll take 2 days. So, okay, fine. But yes, it's going to be 2 days of just sitting in a studio reading a book.
I don't know if I could manage that. I don't think I could handle that because my concentration span, even on this show, towards the second hour, I start looking out the window and going, oh, that's a nice car. A bird's just landed on that aerial. For me to sit there for presumably it would be 8 hours.
Yeah, just going for
2 days.
It. Yeah.
Tracy's been in touch to talk actually a little bit about audiobooks, and she says that I've often got several different genres on the go at one time.
That's easier to keep track of in your mind, actually.
Yeah, because one's about murder, the other one's about love.
Or whatever, yeah. Exactly.
She says, I love Francine Rivers. A big fan of Francine Rivers. And
she's very popular. Tessa Ashfar as well. If you've ever heard of her, she's just as good as Francine Rivers and writes very similar stuff.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's someone to check out.
When I was a child, my aunt gave me an amazing book about an armadillo. Wish I could remember the title. I've never found it again.
Wow.
Most people, I think, have a book like that where they don't even remember the true thing about it, but there's something up there that makes you think you do. It's like a song, or it's like a holiday where you're absolutely certain that happened, and then you speak to somebody else and they go, no, they weren't there, or we didn't go there. Matt, it's been a pleasure meeting you in person.
It's been great. And listen to the show Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and it's repeated again on a Saturday afternoon at 12 noon. So yeah, do join me. It'll be great.
So if you like that conversation that we've had, well, if you want more of it, then listen to Matt's show, and you can listen back, of course, via the Konnect Radio app or our website, our new website. Go and have a look.